4, 3, 2, rewind.
Rise of the Fallen, MMO Quest, Pantheon. Once again, time to pledge. Very excited. We're here to talk. Let's get this party to
share your thoughts.
Co-host Derek.
Weekly Adventures, co-host Desiree. We're almost professional.
Full disclosure.
Dangerous combination. Creating content and optimizations. We've got a lore video coming. Cannot wait, which is all about drone fast and some sort of like cake. Mail on a Sunday.
News and notes.
Schedule for this week.
Hot cocoa. All these people.
Supports the show. Adventuring party.
You ready? Let's go.
Let me take a deep breath. Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of The Rewind. In case you haven't heard, The Rewind is the only weekly podcast closely following the development of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, the upcoming MMORPG by Visionary Realms. We're here to do the super fanning, so you don't have to. This week, we're doing a double take on an unexpected Co-Carnage pre-alpha stream, showcasing the community works, and of course, finishing with some fabulous fan fiction. VR is tossing out some curveballs, but we're here to make sure your swing is true. So join me, Theric, and my home run hitter co-host, Desrin, for this week's Rewind. Well, Desrin, I have bad news to report. The New Year's resolution has been put on pause to get in shape because my treadmill quit before I could.
Another excuse.
Yeah, you know, what can I say? They just don't make them like they used to, you know? I was... Although we've had this for many, many years, it is, older. But yeah, we were going on it one night, and it's funny because it was like you get that sort of smell of burning rubber started to fill the room. And I'm like, that's not good. That's probably something I should be concerned about. And then it started to like suddenly stop and then start again. And suddenly I'm like, okay,
that sounds dangerous.
I'm either going to get sucked into this thing or I'm going to burn my house down. So I didn't want either of those things to happen. So yeah, Plan Fitness is on pause. But how are you doing?
Well, fine. Our viewers may have noticed last week or may notice this week, I might have a bit extra echo on my recording. That is because I don't have furniture in my room right now. And I'm currently holding my microphone with my left hand while we record because my mic boom got moved. So it's a bit
going old
sprawled,
school.
Just got my equipment kind of on my desk here, and it's a little crazy, but hopefully you guys don't notice too much like cord noise or echo or anything. And yeah.
I love the image of you podcasting with a mic, like holding a mic in front of your face, like a reporter on the scene. Like, we're here from Terminus, reporting live, and here's Desert. That image.
It's definitely
awesome.
Less fun than that.
It is, yeah.
but good image.
My arm would be tired by the end of the show for sure. But
I got an hour to go. Let's
yeah, better hurry up. Yeah, you know what's not broken though is our adventuring party.
That's
who are
right.
Always here to support the show. And as always, this week we've got Ziplocks on the Darkmer Rogue, Sparrow on the Elf Ranger, Bounty Code on the Human Wizard, Screech the Scar Bard, Wiki Woo is the Human Enchanter, Shuriken as our Dwarf Cleric, Horsasaurus is the Human Warrior, Churro Dude as the Halfling Dire Lord, Fury Wrath as an Archai Summoner, Pavejo on the Gnome Wizard, Acera Avienda on the Elf Ranger, Galarain Moonsong also on the Elf Ranger, and Annoying Llama on the Human Monk. So those fine folks all are part of our Patreon campaign. You can check that out. There's a link in the description if you want to support the show that way. You can also leave a super chat or a super thanks, as you'll see the names on the scrolling banner throughout the course of the show. Those are the folks who have done that, as well as the Patreon folks, to give everybody a shout out on their chosen Pantheon racing class in the future. So if that's something that interests you, we would greatly appreciate it. Of course, always voluntary and never expected. Just being here hanging out is the best thanks we can get. And so, with that said, we've got a big show to get to. So Desrin, let's get going.
Let's get going.
This week in Visionary Realms News and Notes. All right, so as you may or may not know, last weekend was Pantheon's first monthly pre-alpha test of 2023. And VIPs, we were in there and we were doing our thing, and so was Co-Carnage. And just to remind everyone, Co-Carnage is not only a huge fan of Pantheon, and one of the biggest streamers on Twitch. He's also an accredited investor in the project. So, we saw him stream the game in December, and there was tons of anticipation for that stream, right? Lots of build up. Des, you and I talked about it repeatedly, about how this was such a significant moment for the game to have a non-developer guided gameplay experience shown. We gave it, of course, the usual full recap treatment afterwards. But this one was with much less fanfare and hype. Code just sort of jumped in for the January test. It was announced by VR literally less than an hour before the test was about to start. So I think very few people actually knew this was happening and could make plans to come and check it out. But, as we're going to talk about, that might not have been such a bad thing. So little preview of some of our thoughts on this co-stream, but let's dig into what was actually went down and give you some details about the stream itself. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's about 54 minutes, so a little less than an hour. He played a gnome wizard. So a couple thoughts on this. I like that he played the wizard. It's good to see a new class get demonstrated.
True.
He did show Mana Skin, which is a cool, unique ability that I don't think we've ever seen demoed before. It's a channeled sort of persistent ability. He showed it. He used it when he first got it.
I think he used it like once when he was already out of mana.
Like in the game, like when he was in combat kind of thing. Because when he first got the scroll, he did it.
One situation, I think it was with a spider. He bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Okay. And he was like, oh no, I'm out of mana. And he used Mana Skin.
Yeah, that's not when you want to do it.
Needless to say, he still died. Yeah.
Because it's a cool spell that actually turns your mana into health so that you can survive, right? Like
it absorbs damage into your mana pool.
Which is, you would be
which is very interesting if you accidentally pull some aggro, like wizards do.
Yes. Yes.
But I think I'm going to steal this because, like, I actually did cringe a bit when he rolled a gnome.
I did too.
Because, y'all, like, no one's hiding that model is awkward at best.
Awkward at best and grotesque at worst, you might say.
Yeah. And his chat definitely commented on it. He took it like a champ, but it was one of those things where it's like, man, we need those new models.
Yeah, like the little Skeletor gnome is not doing it for me.
Skeletor gnome.
It looks like Skeletor to me. I've always thought they looked like Skeletor, and it's like a mini version. I can't. Yeah, so not the greatest model to show. I think. I mean, any of the other ones would have been better, but whatever. I guess it's not a big deal.
But yeah, wizard spells though. He did get to level 2 in wizard.
Yes, we saw 3 wizard spells. And that sort of leads into the next point that we all wanted to make. And that's, again, struggling to really learn the abilities. Now give him credit, the skills, the spells that he learned, he spent the time reading them and sort of figuring out what they did, but didn't really use the snaring ability on the second one that he bought. But again, the readiness issue, right? Like one of the skills he's using, the dagger, is, a shiv. It's a technique that uses readiness, and I still feel like that wasn't fully clear about how it was working to him.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of mechanical things Ko doesn't really know how they work, which is probably just because there's no guidance or explanation of the mechanics in game yet, right? Mm-hmm. And no one next to him to explain it either. Same with the wizard Fosi. That was like the mechanic, and it's like he tried to kind of get what it meant, but then never really utilized it, right?
Yeah.
It's pre-alpha, but in this case, it's like, well, he's streaming to thousands of people with no guidance and kind of like doing the bare minimum, like literally just spamming the one key,
Like if you are going to spend time at level 1 and 2, I mean, that's really the most interesting thing you can do is show some of the cool abilities and spells and really give a good demonstration of how they work. Again, we're gonna go deeper on this, but it's just a one point of contention that I think we both had is that it was not the time was spent doing things that didn't showcase the game well, and learning those spells and the abilities a little better would have been a step in the right direction. There was some good insight that Ko had in at one point, and I love that he said this. He says he's out in the world killing, bats and rats and whatever else. And he noticed when he took on a yellow con, he said it doesn't seem like the yellows give that much more experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is valuable feedback, VR. That is very valuable feedback.
You would think with the danger involved, right, it would be a little more beneficial, but as we saw, it was pretty negligible.
Very negligible, and just sort of an echoing of a sentiment that you probably not the last time you'll hear that. So that was good feedback for them, and again, we saw some cool stuff. We got finally Desrin. Are you happy that we can say this name for once? Fuzz Ruckus.
Oh, Fuzz Ruckus, man.
Ruckus.
It's just, it was hard to hold it in last time.
It was.
Because he saw Fuzz Ruckus in the previous stream, but immediately turned away, he didn't see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this time he accidentally engaged.
Yeah.
But we can talk about this, and you know what? I'm actually going to bring this up because we have, people that listen to the show and watch the streams and stuff that will do some research. And it's not a hidden thing that the model for Fuzz Ruckus is an asset from the asset store. So don't go crazy when someone's like, it's an asset flip. Everybody knows already. Everybody knows. Fuzz Ruckus is a troll under the bridge, and they have a model for that. It's really what happens around Fuzz Ruckus that makes the memories.
Right. Yeah, I wish he had chased him down a little further. Fuzz Ruckus kind of gave up a little too quickly on Ko there.
I was surprised that he just turned right back around. I wonder if they kind of tightened that up, so that people wouldn't train him into town.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is, because we've seen other instances from Ko when he streamed pre-alpha that mobs will chase you for a long time.
Exactly.
So Fuzz Ruckus is definitely, I think, on a bit of a leash there. He's not going too far from that spot. But I'm just happy we got a good look at him. And you know what? If they kept him in the game, if that model stays in Pantheon forever, I'm okay with it. So
yeah, that's actually what I probably should have said as well. It's for some things, it's totally fine because Fuzz Ruckus fits what he's supposed to be and matches the world. It's pretty solid. Obviously, we don't want every single mob to, and it's not going to be it's not even going to be most of the mobs, right? It's just, it happens to work for what they need it for right now. So, I'm just throwing it out there so that, people, as we go on with this show, I think people will understand that we're not just trying to hide things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, once they start writing lore for Fuzz Ruckus, then we know we're good to go. We'll get some Fuzz Ruckus lore, I think. The next thing that he showed that I liked seeing was when he got into the exhausted state after using his stamina, running out of stamina and overdoing it, I guess. You go into the exhausted status. And he actually clicked on it. He looked at it. He's like, oh, okay, I see. So when I'm exhausted, I can't sprint. I can't climb, for the whatever it is, 20, 30 seconds that I think exhausted lasts.
Yeah. And then proceeded to do it again.
Well, to be fair, and then this is not, it's probably okay to say, but it's not hard to do. It's pretty, becoming exhausted is easy to do. I'll just say that.
Yeah, totally. It's just one of those things that's nice to point out that it's a thing in the game to show that they're considering penalties for being careless with your resources. It just, whenever someone acknowledges something and then immediately does it again, it cracks me up so much. I actually laughed out loud because the first thing he does after reading it is he just sprints until he's out of endurance, and then there he's exhausted again. It's just so funny, man.
Yeah, I think we've all been guilty of that in some game at some point, and I know myself definitely.
For sure.
I'm not immune to that kind of idiocy sometimes. So he talked about a little bit, what his purpose was here is just to sort of quote, he said, jump in and see the progress. Now, they did release some patch notes, and he mentioned it on stream that there were some patch notes, and they talked mostly about changes to gathering and some crafting updates. unfortunately, Ko didn't really do any gathering or crafting. So I was a little disappointed that he didn't really look into the state of gathering and crafting, as that was the biggest change in this test from the last time we saw it. So
yeah, I think this is just one more kind of bit to show like how last minute this kind of was. And we'll probably reiterate this a few times, but Ko was running late to get to the stream. He was also jet lagged because he had this trip where he went to go mocap and like,
right.
So second time in a row, Ko is kind of like not at 100%, to do this stream. And so in this case, he didn't read the notes really. He did say in the future, like, next time he'll be sure to read the notes and maybe he'll have a better idea what's changed, what's new, and maybe demonstrate that a bit better. But
yeah, I hope so. Because overall, and I'm going to be blunt here, he seemed bored. And I know a jet lag is tough. I've been very jet lagged. I know how it feels, and I don't want fake enthusiasm. I'm not looking for fake hype here. That's the last thing and you or I want at all. That's not who we are. But he seemed bored, and there was really no excitement in this stream. There's no real sense of adventure. I found a couple little interesting bits that we highlighted, but otherwise, they were just kind of uninspiring, I guess. And it's just, hopefully we saw the last time a stream where he's just running around as another level 1 character killing snakes. That is not ideal. And Ko did say he's going to try and jump in every month. And he specifically said next month, so that being February, he's going to test again for sure. I am absolutely hopeful that there's a different game plan in place for the next stream.
Yeah, or a game plan at all, really.
Any game plan.
Because, he did say he'll probably continue leveling a character if they're kept another month, which he didn't do for some reason this session.
He had his monk from last time.
Yeah, I don't... If folks remember, that was one of the biggest things about this last session that they said publicly was that people get to keep their characters. So I don't know why he didn't. Maybe he just wanted to try something new, which is... that's the whole part of this unguided casual stream is he just kind of like gets to do whatever. But yeah, hopefully he'll get a bit further, like get an actual group this time. As if we remember back to the last one, he did technically get into a group. The involvement there was limited
engagement affair, if you will. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I do hope that there's a bit of a different approach next time, because we need something a little more than that. And again, I hope they don't wipe the characters. If they don't, I would be very, very pleased with that. Overall, let's just sort of give our overall thoughts on this. And as you can hear from what I've said so far, I was rather nonplussed by this stream. Mostly it comes on two fronts. And the first point is, this is really a pretty much a complete 180 when it comes to how VR's managed their impressions. The no big deal sort of approach to this co-stream was shocking to me. I was taken aback by that.
All this hype last month, and suddenly, and we're talking a month of like holiday break where people are like gone and stuff. So not even a lot of like changes, to the next test. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we were, just last minute and it's totally fine. And you're right. It feels like a complete 180 on that front.
They've been so careful and so controlled with what they've put out for public consumption. And then all of a sudden, this was like totally like a different company was running the show now.
Actually, on that note, though, and this is where we're probably going to get into the weeds. It's like, I think the whole point is that the game, the whole imminence thing, is that Pantheon is supposed to be able to stand on its own. Right. And having casual streams in a way kind of like legitimizes the project, right? But the truth is kind of, now more people are going to get exposed to these streams than even the official VR channel. And And it's obviously not in a casual ready state, or at least in the way that they're showing
Yes.
it. Or I shouldn't even say they, just Co, right?
Yes.
And so it's very, it stands out a lot, I think.
Yes, absolutely stands out like a sore thumb. I'm just not in a good way. The evidence, you talked about how people are reacting to this, and you sort of like as a casual ready state, not being in that place. You're 100% right, and I've taken some comments because this video, so the VOD from Co's stream is on Co's YouTube channel. It's not on VR's channel, and so I went over to Co's channel to watch it, looking, to see what the reactions were in the comments, and unfortunately, it was kind of what I expected to see. I saw a lot of negativity, and I wanted to just read like 3 of them because I thought they were really solid points that are well worded. So let's start with the first one because I thought this reflected the impression that Co's stream gave off. And this is from a fellow on YouTube. It says, "I write this comment with no amount of hate for the game and sincerely wish the developers success with this project, especially seeing that they are doing something very much outside the mainstream with this. That being said, I feel like they aren't doing themselves any favors with pre-alpha sneak peeks like this. The presentation here is so incredibly bad, and saying it's placeholder assets and subject to change only does so much to alleviate that. I'm not part of the niche audience they're making this game for, so take the feedback for what it's worth, but I am on the lookout for new MMOs to play. Sadly, this is not convincing me that Pantheon is the one." So that's like who you're talking about. That's the casual MMO player looking for that experience to jump in, run around and do some stuff. And like, you're not showing Pantheon's best side right now. It's much more developed on the
and this guy, like, this isn't the just I'm gonna flame this, kind of of commenter. That, like, if anyone's going to potentially be interested that wouldn't normally, it would be someone like this. That's like, hey, this probably isn't for me, but now it's really not for me.
Right. Yeah. Like even the ones that were like, I try it out. And I'm like, meh, nah. Here's another comment. And this is somebody who I've seen in the community before, longtime fan. And they say this in their comment. They say, "I'm a huge fan of the project. It's insanely hard to show this game's potential in an entry-level area alone soloing. It would be great for Co to get into some group gameplay in the areas, not for soloing. That really is the game. This is introductory stuff that will never seem compelling. Fingers crossed that can happen soon." So that's basically what we're saying, right?
Totally.
And this is somebody who is a fan of the project and knows, is into this kind of a game, is the niche audience that the other commenter referred to. So, and I'm gonna sort of echo those sentiments a bit when I give some final thoughts here. But I want to read one more. This one's from Reddit. It says, "It was good to see a new class, though it would have been nice to see him get beyond level 2. It's been 3 times now he's leveled a character to 2 or 3 by killing basic wildlife, and has done the vast majority of it solo. It would be a welcome change to see some more group gameplay at least level 5+. It would be a better showcase of what the game is really like to both new viewers and longtime Pantheon followers. I'm not sure if Co is simply not allowed to stream the game for more than like 90 minutes, or if he simply doesn't want to because of his desires of his Twitch viewer base. If it's the latter, I'd prefer having someone who actually wants to play the game more and stream it, that kind of thing." So like, that's a reasonable comment. And for Reddit, that's a very reasonable comment. So I really am in agreement with there. And I know it sounds like I've been negative here throughout, and we have to acknowledge when there are problems, because you can't come to a solution unless you acknowledge a problem. And I think that's what VR can take away from this stream with Co, is that there's what it comes down to is this: there's a way to not play Pantheon, and the way it's set up right now, the visuals, the sounds, it's never going to blow anyone away right now. It's in a pre-alpha state. They just can't compete with other bigger studios. And knowing that, they have to showcase the best part of this game, the group-centric nature, what makes gameplay special, that the intricacy of the abilities, the class interdependence, social aspects, like those tenets that they talk about. If you don't do this, honestly, the game, it's nothing special. It's right now, if you just play it this way, it's a shallow, mind-numbingly dull experience. And I'm sorry to say that, but when I was watching Co play, I'm trying to shift perspective a little bit to somebody who maybe hadn't seen it before. It's a rough It's rough. I think this is kind of what VR should be wary of. This a little bit of a misrepresentation of why people should care about Pantheon. So
Dude, that's a very real but great point. And I don't want to harp on Ko too much, but I think you're right. He's accidentally, misrepresenting the game, and kind of worse is he's misrepresenting it to the largest audience that VR can really get right now.
right. Right.
And I'm on one hand, I'm super happy that they're kind of allowing this consistent streaming of the actual PA, no smoke and mirrors or whatever. But unless he starts actually like hitting on the gameplay that, as you kind of said, it kind of expresses the tenets of the game. It's like he's showing another game and calling it Pantheon,
Right. Yeah, like trying to make it a modern MMO when it's not built like that.
Yeah, I mean, even at one point, I think Ko, he does this quest, right? And he turns and he's like, I wonder how much experience this is going to give. And then he's like, surprised there's no experience. I'm like, man.
I had the same reaction.
Yeah. But yeah, I do really look forward to when Ko can, regular do these, cozy streams of Pantheon that actually kind of shows the parts of the game that make it unique. But at least as it's been so far, it's really just showing all of the like unremarkable and incomplete parts of the game.
Yeah.
Very few little nuggets in there that you can pick up on and be like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. But mostly it's all of the like it's no wonder people are saying like this game is like a 20-year-old game,
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I think that's the thing, right? Like you have to acknowledge that how people perceive this game is going to be the biggest hurdle to overcome for them to be successful. Because Ko's doing exactly what most people are going to do. They're going to play it like they play every other modern MMO. You jump in, make a character, run around solo, and and that's part of it, but that is a very small part of it. People, it's going to be boring if that's how you play this game. You're going to get bored and you're going to log out and you're never going to come back. So
especially in PA.
Yeah. Right. And he's demonstrating what it is like to play beside other people and not with other people, which is something that I've talked about before, that I feel like most modern MMOs encourage you to sort of just do your thing beside other people so you're not lonely, right? And it's like, it's not what this is about, and you're not doing it right. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Think of it like buying a high-end sports car, right? So if you buy this super fancy bells and whistles high-end deal, and then you're only driving it in heavy traffic, you'd be like, why did I pay this much for this? Like Pantheon's a premium game. I mean, they've said box price and sub, right? It's going to be a premium game, and you're going to just treat it like a free to play game. You're going to just end up saying, like this car sucks. Like this is, I didn't understand. Why did I buy this? You're missing the point. And if the company that makes that car is relying on somebody to demonstrate like its prototype, and that's what they show, good luck. Good luck. And we both want the best for Pantheon. We want it to be successful beyond its wildest dreams. And this is something that I think we're both sort of the same mindset that, we're seeing a problem here, right?
Well, yeah. And I think that's a really great comparison. But to be clear, like the game should, by release, stand on its own without guidance. But what's super clear now is that with zero guidance and unfortunately very little information about the product, it's no wonder it's kind of showing badly. I mean, not only comments, but like I know the Twitch chat, a lot of people were like, wow, the Twitch chat was a lot more negative than usual. So it's like it's putting the spotlight, just to keep this going, it's putting the spotlight on like a super basic cassette player that's inside of your sports car instead of the things that make the sports car awesome, right? Like
right, yeah. I love that. That's exactly right. I love that a cassette reference is always welcome, by the way.
Oh, of course. We'll keep going with that. But, just to go off what you said about this being a big hurdle of the project, though. I hate to throw this in here, but it's relevant, right? We're getting real today.
Mm-hmm.
I was checking YouTube for some, new content, just to make sure I'm grabbing all the creators that I can for the community spotlight. And unfortunately, still, if I ever search Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, the first video that comes up, it is the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is the worst MMO ever video by Asmongold, which is at 268,000 views now.
Oh my gosh.
It's a big hurdle that VR needs to get over, and it's going to take some tact. Not smoke and mirrors, not like, shisty business, but like something more than, do whatever you want, and the whatever you want is like level 1 to 2 over and over again.
Right. I mean, like you say, in figures, people like that make that video are going to have a field day with stuff like this, and I just don't want to see that. Like I really want to, and I'm not saying that they need to go back to being like
closed doors, and like
closed
all
doors,
that.
No. Pull the curtains closed and never let us see anything again. I just think we need to be a little bit, we just need to learn a lesson from this. I think it's a good lesson to learn, because, they've walked this tight line of keeping the game under wraps and allowing it to be shown in its best light. And then just out of nowhere, you get this, Ko is an investor, like I said earlier, and this actually, I think it does a disservice for him as an investor, because he wants to, get his investment back, right? So it doesn't make sense on any level. The point I'm making there is it's not done with any kind of, ill will or poor intent by Ko. I feel bad that he's sort of being, not forced, but like he's not coming at this with a better experience, because it was, if I could stream the game, I would stream it for as long as they would let me, right? But he just, 54 minutes for a free gameplay stream seems really short to me. So maybe I'm overreacting, but Des, and our listeners know, I don't get riled up very often. Like, I'm pretty chill. But when I see a red light, I have to say something, and I have to sort of like explain why as much to the best of my ability without being negative about it.
Yeah. And I think the never mind. I'm not going to say the phrase you used before we started the show. But I get getting riled up about this. It's like I think the main reason we're feeling so kind of critical about this is just because we know that there are things even now that can really show Pantheon's differentiators, and so we're frustrated that twice now these things haven't really been shown on the Ko streams.
Right. Right.
Exactly. And Ko's a really busy guy, and I want to give him a lot of slack, And he obviously believes in some general aspects of Pantheon, but it's really obvious that nothing against him. He's either not in a good frame of mind, like, he was sick, he was tired, jet lagged, or whatever. But also just like there's some things he's just like not informed enough to demonstrate the game on his own, maybe. I really wonder, I don't think they'll straight up say this, but I wonder how the devs feel about these streams. Like, do they feel like the thing that they're working their asses off so hard was shown in a fair light? Like,
yeah. That's what I said earlier about, where is his gameplay located? It's on his channel. It's not on VR's channel right now. So I would take that as maybe a bit of an indicator, and which would be a good thing, which would be a smart move on VR's part. I would agree with that decision. If that was a conscious decision to do that, I would agree with it.
Yeah. But I mean, in the end, I like the idea of this completely unguided stream, but it's pretty obvious that this isn't the right time for that. And I think we can accept that, right? It's
absolutely,
it's showing all of the unremarkable, unfinished things over and over. Very few of the good parts, with not very much context. And this is something I have to point out too, that it hurts me a little bit, is that when someone asks like, why is this game taking so long in chat or whatever, and Ko has multiple times gone through the same kind of phrasing of like, I know this game's been in development a long time, but they're working on pipelines and now they're making progress. And I'm hoping that it's gonna really ramp up. And we've heard this like a few times now in the last several streams, which the thing is, it's not even the whole picture to say that, and what it comes across as to a skeptic is an excuse rather than the actual explanation.
Yeah, when you hear the same thing over and over several times, it sounds like you're just sort of
I'll use
roboting.
the Twitch phrase. It sounds like copium.
I don't even like that word. I hate that word, but I'll allow it.
Okay, but that's the thing is there are good reasons and very honest reasons, which make me. It's literally like one of the reasons I jumped on the project was how they handled the refactor, as in that they took it on. It's actually really inspirational for me. But what he kind of makes it sound like is that they've just been like kind of bumbling along and they're 8 years in and they're working on pipelines, and it doesn't come across. But anyway, like you said, it seems like this is going to be a monthly thing for Co. So I'm hoping that next time some light guidance might be available, either from the devs or maybe other players if he wants to like collaborate with people in game or something that just helps demonstrate the game a little better. Like we both really like Co. Like his attitude and everything is just so good and wholesome, and he is so enjoyable to watch, and he involves his chat, and he's a great streamer. But we know how high these stakes are right now, and
that's exactly. I'm glad you said that. I wanted to make that point too. That's exactly right. Like this is a high risk proposition, and Ben Dean has said that many times. Making a MMO, crowd-funded MMO, is any video game development's a high-risk proposition, but Pantheon's different. It's different. The stakes are higher, and you can't just demo it willy-nilly and hope for the best. You got to be careful with this. It's crowd-funded. The crowds are watching Co. The crowds are watching Co. So keep that in mind.
Well, maybe we can kind of end this with a quick, what we'd like to see from Co. In the next stream, just to give some, maybe a bit of constructive side at the end, in addition to all of our thoughts and stuff.
For sure.
Do you have anything? Or do you want me to start?
No, go ahead. You start.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, I like the organic nature, and I don't think I would want it to be super guided like the old dev streams in the past. But like I said, maybe have a couple folks just go along with Co as he explores, which is one of the things I liked about the stream was he did start to explore a bit. But maybe when he starts to tread water, have some folks with him that can recommend hey, maybe we could go and see insert NDA thing here, just have a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, or another thing that they could do is bump him up to level 5+, as the commenter suggested. Give him that's not dev
that's guidance. Not crazy, but at least
just a different starting point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that would be something I would suggest for the next one.
Yeah, no, nothing crazy. Don't need to get him way high up into stuff that the testers aren't doing. But
right.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I agree with that too. And this is one of those cases where that probably would be a good idea.
Right.
Also, reading the update notes, alongside reading the notes, which he said he will do this next time. It'd be nice if maybe the devs could give him a little brief on some, basic things that it seems like he's not aware of at the time, just so he can be a little more informed. Which kind of alongside that, I think it'd be cool for him to maybe be informed enough to point out things that are new or different as he comes upon them, and maybe kind of explain some systems that, since there's no tutorial, there's nothing in game to tell everyone how to do stuff, yet. And so having him just talk about the class mechanics, climbing, group dynamics, just little details about what the enemies are doing. I'm borderline here, but there's traits, there's abilities that mobs are using that if people knew what was happening, it might be a little more interesting. Just a little bit of that kind of why things are the way they are. Why is dark? And, again,
No,
I'm like,
I know you're
I
trying
wanna,
hard to stay within the lines.
yes, it's
So I agree though. I mean, it's all about the details. You know, if you're gonna be basic and do like a level 1 or 2 character, you've got to focus on the details because it's otherwise it's like you're just playing Roblox. Like it's lame, you know. Like I'm sorry, but man, it's rough. The details are what make it interesting, and then to properly give the details attention, you have to have some knowledge. You know, some forehand knowledge of something you want to look for specifically, or something that you want to highlight purposely. A little more mindfulness, I think.
yeah, and just like I know, like I said, he's a busy guy, but just maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, just have a dev or two like kind of point out a few things just to let him know, like, hey, this is how this works. Just ahead of time would do wonders, I think. But I do really look forward to the next stream. And whenever Pantheon is ready for completely unguided gameplay. But this has definitely been a learning experience, and I'm hoping that VR is at least taking note of what's working and what's not as they go. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Onward and upward, as they say, right? As I steal your line from the notes,
that's
onward
fine.
and upward.
That's great.
Because that is the whole point of this: is to find solutions and to be, solution oriented, not just to bash, not just to be critical for no reason, to make make the trajectory for this game better, as we can do from a fan community positioning. Like that's all we can do is highlight some things that didn't seem to work so well. So
yeah, and
this would be one
just
of them.
to toss this to you guys, definitely throw us some comments on how you felt about the stream. If you loved this stream, like, why did you love this stream? Just some really constructive stuff, because every once in a while, the VR does read these comments and stuff, and it can be really helpful to know the general gist, not just me and Theric's take on these things. So throw that in there. And speaking of thoughts, because I'm just going to completely shift gears. So we've been talking on this for a while, right? But as well as gathering thoughts on other things, Savanja, the new community manager, put up a little discussion post on the official forums regarding loot rules. So if you want to give your thoughts on like what kind of rules and loot systems should be in place for Pantheon, you should definitely check that out. The thread's still brand new, so I put a link in the description as well if you need a quick way to get there and respond to that. And maybe they'll take that into account as they build out these systems. But yeah,
everybody loves to talk about loot. It's always a popular topic.
True.
So that's the news for the week. Let's quickly look at the Pantheon Plus calendar for the week of February 6th through to the 13th. Here's what we're working on as our little fan community continues to toil away. Mondays, of course, always the late night stream with Drac and his pals. They're still playing Dark Age of Camelot. That's midnight Eastern on the Pantheon Plus Twitch channel. Tuesdays and Thursdays is the MMORPG 101 and 201 shows. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Tuesday on our Twitch channel. And Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we are playing Lord of the Rings Online. We had a great time this week playing. I know on Thursday, we had such a fun time doing some skirmishes as well as some bigger dungeons. And really, really fun time with some new friends. So definitely hope you can come and hang out with us and check us out for that. Would love to see you there. Our good friend I was about to say our good friend Amensol. Our good friend Benonai has released or will be releasing again the next part of his writing, his fan fiction piece. He's recorded it into audiobook form, so that's great and very much something that I would encourage other authors to do as well, because he's thrown it up on his YouTube channel. If you don't know, Benonai has a YouTube channel.
Yep.
You can check it out there. We'll leave a link in the description for that so that you can go and listen to him read his work, which is something that's how I do a lot of my reading these days. And like audiobooks are kind of the only way sometimes these days. So that's Wednesday. That should go up. On Friday, our friend Redbeard Flynn is doing a Pantheon video. He's been putting out a lot of content lately, just about MMOs in general and like every MMO under the sun and news and what's happening.
I'm glad it's another Pantheon video, though. I can't wait to see how many downvotes he gets on this one.
Well, we'll see because he's talking about immersion. So it depends on what his take on immersion is, because some people have very different definitions of immersion, and some people are very, very sensitive to anything, and some people are like,
his audience will immerse him in a dunk tank if he doesn't get the take right.
Ooh, I would pay to see Redbeard Flynn, sitting on a dunk tank and having his fans.
Me too.
Chuck things. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. Pantheon community, let's make it happen. So that is the news and notes for this week.
The Pantheon community is full of cool projects, new people, and things that are just worth sharing. What's this over here? Look at that. So let's see what we can find in this week's Community Spotlight. All right, as Theric noted in the previous section, I wanted to point out that Benonai has his Amensol's Shadow Genesis on his YouTube, linked in the description under the Community Spotlight section. And I did really like this as well. He adds some atmosphere. I mean, really, you could just add rain to narration, and it's gonna get me. But yeah, I'm glad he's gonna continue putting these out, because having the author read it themselves, especially, like, he's got some soul in it, man. Like,
it's got a great voice.
Yeah, I really liked it. Definitely check that out. And also, it's a Benonai day today, so the next one, on a completely different note, is a thread that Benonai made on the official forums called "The True Nature of the Aridola." And dude, I laughed out loud many times reading this one. Like, he's just got this amazing way of taking literally anything and turning it into this, like, very entertaining conspiracy.
He does. I was reading it, and like I was like 75% through it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so funny. Like, I don't know, I don't think I agree with any of this, but there was one point at the very end where he talks about, like, there's like some blood drops on the ground, and it's like they're not flower petals because the flowers are a different color. And I was like, okay, maybe maybe that was the straw that broke my back, that brought me into the conspiracy theory. I don't know,
dude. It's so funny. We gotta send that to JN. It's great.
It is really good.
And then lastly, this is like borderline, I would say, but when you think of Pantheon, a lot of people think of Basgrim, right? Like, it's kind of one in one. And speaking of one in one, he was on a podcast called 1v1, the 1v1 podcast with Basgrim TV, episode 52. And this is a channel I actually didn't know about, but they have a very professional podcast that is usually centered around Ashes of Creation, but they do an interview with Basgrim. And I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing, but I got to watch like 15-20 minutes of it, and it's really good. Like I said, it's very professional, and I think Baz is a great interviewer, or interviewee, I should say.
Yeah, both actually.
Yeah, it was just actually very nice, and there's Pantheon stuff in there, so that's my excuse. So yeah.
No, it's a great call out. I need to listen to this, actually. I saw that he was commenting on Twitter about it, and I would like to, I'll give it a listen as well. I'm always on the hunt for new podcasts too, because I like to have a large number of them for many episodes in the week, but I'm definitely going to check this one out. And only because you brought it up, and it's very tangentially related, but there was another video that both Basgrim and our friend Redbeard Flynn took part in. Did you see this, Des, about the pronunciation of EverQuest terms with some of the Daybreak devs?
No, how did I miss this?
Okay, I'll send you the link. It is awesome. It is awesome. If you've ever wondered how, like, Kinos and all the EverQuest terms, that even like the later ones that I have no idea who these names are from, like, the later expansions, but Redbeard Flynn knows them all, and so does Baz.
But I already know how they're pronounced. Why do I need to watch this, Theric?
You might think you know, but you don't. Trust me, you don't. I actually learned a few things. not just the pronunciation. I learned a couple other things. I'm not going to spoil it for everybody because it's really fun. I'll put a link in the description for this video as well because it's EverQuest, and a lot of us come from that place.
Why not? Let's just do it.
And it features our friends, so why not, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Our friends are in it. Why not? That's going to be that's everything I got, and that's going to be it for this week's Community Spotlight.
And now, story time from our fans of fiction. All right, so it is time to finish Chapter 1 of the tale of Tyrion Grovefinder. This is a fan fiction by our friend Fate. As we left off last week, Tyrion is deep in the forests of Wild's End when she encounters a mysterious female elf who evokes a sense of nobility against Tyrion's humble origins. The moment appears to catch both of them by surprise, and Tyrion notes a splendid dagger at the woman's side, and that the nature of her attire seems well suited for rogue's work. So we pick up the tale as the two begin their interaction. So please enjoy Tyrion Grovefinder by Fate. I stand up in a slow, deliberate motion while admiring her well-crafted outfit and spread my hands out. The move also opens up my cloak to show that I'm not very well armed. Just one small hunting knife and a sling. The elf woman seems to relax a little, so I bring my hands up and make two gestures I learned from an elder that lived in Sorhireth most of his life. If the old rogue wasn't playing a long con with me, then I should have just said sorry and peace. My vocabulary in the hand language still isn't that good. I breathe a sigh of relief when the elf raises an eyebrow and then returns my gesture of peace. She leans back against a tree, but keeps an eye on me and a hand on her weapon. I grin with excitement, my heart pounding in my chest, and open my mouth to speak, but she raises a finger to her lips and shakes her head. Then makes a few quick signs. I only pick up silence and trouble. This is not ideal. Today will be the absolute worst if I don't at least get a look at her dagger. I also still plan on finding a way into that grove, preferably while there are people on which to eavesdrop. The elf seems to sense I have a question and cocks her head to the side. Or maybe she's just confused as to why I'm not being a good little halfling and buggering off. I think for a second, trying to remember a few more words, then point to her dagger and sign nice, good, and where. Now it's the pretty woman's turn to smile, just a small one. A chill runs down my spine at the sight. She reaches into a back pouch I didn't see before and tosses something at me. The object glints in the light of the fading sun. It sails right into my waiting hand. A large coin. I roll the disc across my knuckles, feel the solid weight. Iron plated in bronze. There is an unfamiliar crest stamped into both sides. A circle of fists closed around daggers. Each weapon is pointed at the fist to the left, as if ready to stab the owner. An alliance built on mutual destruction, rather than trust. I feel a little sweat break out on my forehead. A soft, deadly sound catches my attention. The elven rogue has pulled her dagger out of the sheath. I get the feeling the sound was for my benefit. She holds the vicious weapon up in front of her. I stop breathing for a moment, as the beautiful blade glows red in the evening sun. A soft curve on one side leads up to a thin point. The length of the edge is longer than I thought, almost that of a short sword. This is a weapon made for both quiet midnight killings and brutal daylight battles. Want? She signs. Find south wall. The dagger goes back into its sheath, and she crosses her arms under her breasts. I won't get any more out of her. I draw my cloak and the shadows back around me and walk away in silence, but her glittering eyes follow me. What an unusual child, I think, as the halfling slides beneath the shadows. Then I catch myself. Even adult halflings can look just like children. Technically, I should have killed her for finding the location of tonight's meeting, even if it was clearly an accident. I'm not in the habit of killing locals, however, especially the famously curious halflings, just for having the bad luck to run across me. Besides, she didn't even recognize a reaver when I showed her the rare and deadly blade, instead asking where she could get one herself. Her signs were stiff and unpracticed. The foolish girl was obviously not raised in the streets and doesn't know anything. She'll learn fast, now. But she did ask, so I gave her the same coin and the same cryptic clue that was given to me by my master. Either she'll kill me and take her reward, or the mark I gave her will see her dead. Probably the second one. Such a waste, considering her talent. And that is the lore you know. And that's the show. So yeah, no, it does a bit of a different one for us. Maybe a different tone than you might come to expect from the rewind.
I wouldn't say our audience needs to expect this, a lot or anything. We're not gonna be super. I don't know how to put that. Like, we're not going to be really negative. I hope our spin on everything was as constructive as we could have been.
That's right.
And I hope our audience feels that. And I hope, if VR is listening, I hope you guys feel that. Obviously, we appreciate you guys a ton. And, it's always weird doing these kinds of things,
I know.
right? But I would almost say I could feel obligated to, right? And there's never going to be a point where we're going to hide stuff or just kind of brush things aside because we're super fans or whatever, which is funny that you put that in the intro, by the way.
And I think that was probably in my brain when I was writing the intro. I'm like, I kind of know where this is going to go. So I want to, like you say, I want to point out, we are super fans, but super fans care about the thing that they're a fan of. And when they care about something, you have to be, you got to take everything. You got to be the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you got to be honest about it.
That's right.
And it's like you say, if VR knows that we are here for them, we want to support this game and make it everything that they want it to be. So from a fan community position, we do the best we can with that. So it's everything, like you said. So hopefully
and our viewers are everything. Thank you for sticking with us. If you did get this far, it's very appreciated. I know I could only listen to so much like this, in a podcast. And so it means a lot to us that you guys take it all, just both sides of the coin. So
absolutely. Yeah, very much appreciated and very grateful for all of you that listen to the show. So having said that, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for hanging out with us today. And we'll be back next week. So we will see you then.
See you then, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Pantheon Plus Rewind. Pantheon Plus is not affiliated with Visionary Realms. Be sure to check out our Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube channels under the name Pantheon Plus. You can follow Theric at Pantheon Theric on Twitter, and Desrin at DesrinDoes also on Twitter. And you can stay up to date with all things Pantheon at www.pantheon.plus. Until next time, cheers, and thanks for listening.